This is Nick from Boston, and this is the Katie Black Show.
Okay, what up, you guys? Welcome to the Katie Black Show on YouTube. I'm so honored. Today, my guest is.
Hi, I'm Robyn Stacey, singer.
What up, Robyn? Real quick, I know Robyn from college, Lynn University, back in the day. And then she was so nice and let me stay with her in Brooklyn, like probably 6 years later when I was trying to look for a job up there.
Yeah, that's crazy. 2006 was Lynn.
2006. And so any vibes of how that experience was or Florida in general? I know you're back there again, but
Right. Well, Lynn was definitely more of a hot mess for me. I mean, we were like straight out of high school, so 18 years old, and I was completely unmedicated and I'm alcoholic, drug addict. So I was in full blown addiction, and I caused quite a scene over and over again. But, the good thing that came out of it was, meeting you and Keely and people that I've had, maintained relationships with for years now.
is it interesting to like my vibe was like I didn't know that you were like going through that. I mean, I know we weren't like hanging out all the time, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I guess, a good thing as, someone who was an outsider looking in. But I mean, I obviously, I did get kicked out of Lynn. So there was that for
Mm-hmm.
behavior, but good, that's a good thing. You don't want people to always look at you and think you're a hot mess. I mean, you were always such a great student, and I always admired that about you.
So nice. Well, I think I kind of became, in my, analyzation, a hot mess post graduation.
Right. Didn't they call you like Katie Blackout?
Literally,
Yes.
literally. And granted, I got that name in undergrad, so I can't say all of a sudden it just a script flipped after college. But I feel like I always had eating issues that like funneled getting really intoxicated faster than the average Joe, even if I wasn't having that much. So that was always my predicament was like eating, drinking, not eating, drinking, what have you. Okay, so we're just getting into it, which I love. But real quick, I always ask, and we'll go back to present day, but where did you grow up slash where were you born?
So I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, which is about 15 minutes from my hometown of Simsbury, Connecticut.
And so what was that like for people who don't know the area or Connecticut or
So I'm very fortunate. I came from a beautiful area, about 26,000 people in my town. Very lucky to go to a good elementary school, great public schools, met some friends there that I've had for life, which is just such a blessing. People that I've grown up with, I'm still able to call family, best friends. But I mean, listen, just like any other small slash suburb town, drugs are rampant. Everyone's going into the woods to drink, stealing parents' alcohol and putting water in the bottles. So, that's what we did to stay busy. And, it was a lot of fun until it really wasn't anymore.
That's interesting that you say that because I have said that with drinking, and I've always been like a pop culture biography nut of America. And so, yeah, that is a,
Love your pop culture.
I do. And I love that you remember that.
Of course. That like defines you.
It really does. It's like part of like I don't know, just my brain makeup. But yeah, but what I was saying is that like, yeah, like with a lot of addiction, no matter what it is there is a running theme of it was fun until it wasn't, you know? And do you have like a pinpoint of that for you, or was it just like a back and forth kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was never back and forth. It was consistent probably for like 16 years, and it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And I also struggle with mental health and unmedicated. I'm extremely impulsive, extremely attention seeking, uber sensitive, and I'm already a sensitive person as it is. The littlest things would just set me off, and just sad, depressed, and not a fun place to be, especially when you're younger and, 18 and going through it. And, in my 20s, living in New York City was a whole other level of just going, am I allowed to say like curse words?
Absolutely.
Just being, absolutely batshit insane,
Mhm.
and extremely risky behavior, things that, putting myself in situations that nobody in their right mind should ever be in. But, that's the thing. I wasn't in my right mind. And it's a blessing that today, like I've sought help and I've been sober for, almost 7 years. And,
Props.
thank you. Thank you. And, obviously my mental illness is under control because I take my medication, which is crucial. And if I didn't take my medication, I'd be a completely different person. So I'm a firm believer in medication, that it saved my life. But, pinpointing it, it was just,
A series of events.
series of events. I lost my brother at 12, which was very traumatizing for me. Sexual abuse, babysitters, like this, all the stuff you see in movies, that is real life and it's scary. It's
Mhm.
super scary. And, having children in this world is scary, but there's just a plethora of incidents and I'm not alone. And a lot of people have gone through it, but yeah, it makes you a stronger person. You're sober now too, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting that when you say sober, because I'm on the fence about like saying I'm completely sober just because um I have this stance with marijuana. So I know that if you're doing that, you're not considered sober. But I have not had a drink in, yeah, 6 years almost.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Do you call that like, isn't that, I don't know. There's so many labels. I don't
It's
know.
a fine line. I mean, for somebody like me, with my profession and my addiction and alcoholism, I can only speak for myself, but I
All or
wouldn't be
nothing.
able to touch any substance whatsoever.
Now, and first of all, before I continue to go, I always tell guests, and especially you, I appreciate you sharing and being open and candid. Always like an honor that people do that on the show, because I know you don't have to. But okay, so you get kicked out of Lynn, you go back up north, and then obviously I visit you up north, and then at what point do you come back down to Florida?
I came down to Florida March of 2015. I surrendered to my addiction. A good friend of mine actually was like, "You're out of control." And if it wasn't for this person, I would have never gotten help because I didn't know that there was help. And I went to Pennsylvania thinking I was just going to be there for 30 days in a program. Something happened and I got shipped to Florida to go to treatment here, not knowing that this is like the treatment capital of the United States, I suppose. So I got shipped here and I've been here since then and I've started a life here.
And so, I mean, I know that's hard to put that in the nutshell, but what was rehab in Florida like?
So I went to a few of them because I did not get it right away. The therapy aspect and the therapists I had were some of the best people I've ever met and I'll never forget. They opened my eyes to things that changed my life, and the therapy, the EMDR and the cognitive behavioral therapy, it really just saved my life and opened up a new perspective of how I could live and changing things from negative to positive, defining my past in more of a positive way while I could help others rather than being a victim.
Hmm. That's awesome. And you said EMDR. That is a term that I have heard so much in the past, I guess more than 6 months. And also I'm reading a book that calls The Body Keeps Score. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
And they like mention that. And I know that that is like really huge in helping people with, whatever traumas or issues that they have. Like I know that I first heard about EMDR from, I was listening to a podcast, like the survivors of Columbine.
Oh,
That's the
wow.
first. I mean, I know there's like different ranges, but that's the first time I've heard that term. So many questions I could ask. So is there is there any advice before I get into like what you're doing current day of like if someone's really struggling and they just don't know what to do, or if you have a loved one that is struggling and you're at a loss, you have no idea what to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was. That's where a lot of the people that I know were, not thinking that there is another way out of it, thinking that for the rest of your life, you are just going to be a hopeless junkie alcoholic, and probably die, go to jail, or in and out of rehab. But there is light if you seek it. For me, it was rehab and Alcoholics Anonymous, which was my foundation of sobriety, keeping me on track, sponsorship, continued therapy, continued my medication, which, like I said prior, is crucial for somebody like me. There are some people where addiction and mental illness go hand in hand. And I think it's just when you hit rock bottom, what is it? There's like a term. When you stop digging, you hit rock bottom or something like that. And it's true, that's when you hit rock bottom, is when you personally stop digging and believe that there is another way out of this. So, family gets sick of you, you lose your friends, whatever happens to you, going in and out of jails and institutions, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired eventually. That was me. So I like to think that other people, especially people that I come in contact with, they've been through the same things I've been through. And that's why they are where they are today, because they just can't do it anymore.
No, I understand. And how long, for people that don't know, like how long does rehab take? Like, is it years? Is it 6 months? I mean, I know there's so many different programs, but
Yeah. So it depends on the program and where you go. It's typically 21 to 30 days, but then there's like continued care. So, detox if you need detox, if you're coming off of, let's say, alcohol or benzos, you definitely need detox. And then it would be residential level of treatment, which is, 2 to 3 weeks. And then PHP, which is a partial hospitalization program, where you get a little bit more freedom and, segue back into the real world, still continue therapy and groups. And then there's IOP, which is intensive outpatient, where we recommend you go to like a sober living home, halfway house, same thing. And you stay there for at least 6 months to a year. You continue IOP, which is 3 days a week, typically for 3 hours a day. And you meet with your individual therapist weekly for an hour. And, you get a job, you go to your meetings, you pay your way, and you're held accountable.
so it's your stories. I mean, like I said, I mean, obviously I was aware before we did this, but do you feel like, well, first of all, tell people what you're currently doing now.
So I've been with Banyan Treatment Centers for 5 years, and I've had a few roles with them. But currently, for the last 3 years, I'm a family support specialist. So I help coach families, about enabling and boundaries. I offer support. I'm a soundboard. I'm really whatever the family needs me to be. I educate if they're not familiar with what addiction really is, or they need help with understanding their loved one's mental condition. I help people get help, and if I can't help them, I will find someone who can.
That's amazing. Is that a lot of like, how do you decompress and not take all that home with you?
So I work a lot. And I'm very invested with what I do. I love my job. I love who I work for. I absolutely love my boss. He's a mentor of mine. He's a great, great guy. He's taught me so much, and it can be overwhelming. Absolutely. But it helps me get out of self. And, these families, I learn a lot from them too. You know what I mean? It's like a two-way street.
Are you seeing anything just because I am, regardless of what topic I'm talking about, I am really obsessed with analyzing like generations. So obviously we're millennials. Are you seeing some kind of something going on there with addiction as far as generational
I
stuff?
love that you just brought that up. So I'm always thinking, especially having two really young kids and seeing the current generation compared to the millennials, which we are. I
Mhm.
thought we were out of our minds, couldn't
Right.
get any worse than that. But unfortunately, it's just getting worse. Instead of heroin, I'm hearing about fentanyl. Back in my day, it was heroin, and now it's fentanyl. And it's absolutely mind boggling to me because fentanyl is in almost every drug, and people are dying left and right. You know, a family member at least once a week, I'll check in and they'll tell me, their loved one, it's usually their son or their daughter, had passed away. And it's heart wrenching, absolutely heart wrenching. I don't feel like that was as rampant when we
Mhm.
were younger, and new drugs coming out. And now there's legal drugs that you could just buy at a grocery store or vape shop. There's the Delta 8, and then there's the THCO, and there's the Kratom and the Kava. You could just literally go in and buy it wherever. And those are all things that can start you on the wrong path, especially these 18-year-olds that just can go in there and buy it.
Yeah, I guess I've never thought of it that way. That like
I mean,
back in
that's in Florida. I don't know other states that do that.
some are stricter than others. Like, I mean, obviously you can't get marijuana here in NC, but yeah, like there's like, yeah, Delta, whatever, just
Yeah.
casually at the market. So yeah, access to um, a lot more things. Yeah, I guess I haven't thought of it, that way. And I guess too, is there anything, not that like people, I have politicians listening, but like, is there anything that like, especially being in the, occupation that you are in, is there anything that you and your employees are looking for from like DC or,
DC,
well, just like
like,
as far as like, do you wish like politicians would step in and help out or anything of that nature?
oh, like the District of Columbia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in treatment, we say DC as discharge.
Okay,
So
sorry.
no, I'm like, good for her for knowing that. As far as politicians, honestly, I am the last person that should speak about politicians, anything regarding politics in
No, I
general.
understand. I understand. I just didn't know if like it's to the point where like you guys, regardless of what aisle of the party they're on, like you just would hope that there was some help in, those positions, I guess.
Yes, like definitely the opioid crisis is a huge deal, and I know that that is something that some politicians are really fighting for. So that's always a great thing. Um, I have a lot of friends who do the deed, and they're still my best friends, and I don't judge. I'm jealous. I'm happy for them that they're able to function and live great lives, and they're in control of, drinking, smoking, whatever. Obviously, I'm not friends with people who are using painkillers in a excessive way these days, but I work with a lot of families where their loved ones are, and I would just love for it to be cracked down on. But like I said, I really can't speak on politics because I have no
Right,
idea.
that's fair. No, I get it.
I need to educate, and it's shame on me. Like, I need to educate myself more. So that's personally a defect of mine.
Mm.
My husband doesn't let me watch the news because I take it to the nth degree. So shame on me, though.
Okay, well, no shame, but I just didn't know if, but I get it. I get it. And also too, real interesting, I want to share like a real life example. So Robin and I recently reunited at a friend of ours' wedding up in Canada, shout out. And there was like at least four of us that weren't drinking. That's the first time in a while that like I've gone to like a social event and like, I don't know, not to sound corny, but like didn't feel alone.
I know. And that made me feel so good too, because being the only sober person sometimes is, it's like, kind of sucks. So that was awesome. And like watching you dance and know every lyric to every song and just living your best sober life was just so beautiful to me. And I really admired that. And I want you to know that.
Oh, ditto. I love you. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. I was like, how does she know every lyric? And she's dancing her ass off.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, and I mean, do you stay away from social gatherings or not
No,
an issue with you? Yeah, same.
absolutely not. Nope. I encourage my friends to live their best lives. Just because I have to change
Doesn't.
doesn't mean the world has to change. And that's something I learned a long time ago. And I'm very grateful I learned that, because I'm not giving up my friendships because they're able to live normal lives and they don't have a problem. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So, thank God I'm in a good place with my recovery and I'm able to be around it.
Yeah,
But
no.
listen, just to be fair, I understand if it's triggering to somebody. And families will ask me all the time, what should I do when Johnny comes home? And I always say, all the alcohol. And if a family member says, well, can I go out and have a drink while we're out to dinner with Johnny? I say, no. I say, absolutely not. I think that's disrespectful, especially in the first year. You
Hmm.
know, when whoever, like I said, Johnny, for instance, is has a better foundation in his or her recovery, then that can be a conversation you can discuss. But I personally don't recommend. I always call it quiet suggestions, or quiet commands. That's what my sponsor would always say, quiet commands. But it's not fair for someone who is fresh into this.
No, I understand and agree. Not that it has to be like exactly correct, but like what is your vibes on or thoughts on why Florida is such a big rehab facility state?
I would say the weather, the beach, the palm trees, it's soothing, it's calming. Um, I mean, there's great therapists down here, I have to say. I'm sure there are elsewhere too. Thing about Florida though is you can either make it or break it. It can make you or it can absolutely break you. And
Mhm.
I've seen it all happen. I've seen it all happen. So, it's, I don't want to say 50-50 because it's not 50-50. There's a lot of success, but there's also a lot of downfalls. Drugs are very easily accessible, and just like everywhere else. But I would, back to your question. Sorry, I just keep
No, no,
going
no,
on.
it's fine.
Back to your question. I would say the weather and the beach and the calming atmosphere that Florida has.
Yes. Do you miss up north and all of that or?
I miss the seasons. I miss the fall. Um, the fall is what I miss the most. That smell, the fireplace, the trick or
Oh,
treating with the kids. And, it's different down here when it's 90 degrees, your kid's wearing a Spider-Man costume and sweating a little tush off.
right,
But I
right.
like the life that I've created down here.
No, it's amazing to, I mean, obviously I have it just from social media and, reconnecting with you. It's amazing. Do you feel like kind of would the old Robin be like shocked of everything you've accomplished?
100%. I never thought I'd get married. I never thought anybody would love me. Never thought I'd have kids, a career. I figured I would be living in mom and dad's basement for the rest of my life if I was even able, lucky enough to have a roof over my head. So I thank my lucky stars every day.
No props. Like I said, I know props is like so casual, but I mean, it's amazing. And even too, I guess like I knew this, but I think like talking to you like this is like, oh my God, amazing.
Yeah. No, you're amazing, Katie. Like, you genuinely care and you really want to know. You actually are very interested and you constantly want to learn and grow and remain teachable. So that's something that, you should never ever stop doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I just think things like rehab and addiction and trauma, what have you, family genes, I understand plays a factor as well. Just, I think that's so important. And I know that so many people struggle with it or think about it or ponder it. So I think it's so important to like bring light to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for me, my dad, like you said, genetics, my dad was a compulsive gambler, absolute degenerate. He was my best friend. I miss him and love him more than anything. But he was in Vietnam. Instead of drinking and drugs, he went to food and gambling. So I'm definitely my dad. I'm my father's daughter.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my goodness, I didn't know he was a Vietnam vet.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. One, I just think it's awesome too that like again, like not to sound like a broken record that you're so candid and obviously you've definitely done more work than I have of just like taking into, I don't know, analyzing everything that I mean, do you kind of feel like, and this is regardless of rehab and addiction, but I always ask people, do you feel like life is planned out for you? Do you feel like I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, does everyone have like a specific path that they're supposed to follow or no? You don't buy that? Yeah.
Gonna sound cliche, but one day at a time.
Hmm.
Tomorrow could be a different day and it could go to shit or I could win the lottery, but you never know
Hmm.
what's going to happen.
And real quick before I go on to like, I want to end on, of course, my pop culture pull in. I do want to, and I said this to you privately, but just, I just want to say, like, I never met your dad, but just from social media, like, I knew he was awesome. I knew he was awesome. So I want to say that.
Oh, that means the world to me. Yeah, he was
He was a celebrity.
yeah, he was literally a celebrity. I mean, he was the most special human being. Just a complete love and accepting of everybody as long as you were a good person. And that's it. As long as you were a good person and he loved being loved, just like me, and he gave the same love back. So that was really sweet of you to say.
So before I get carried away with like ending on, a lighter pop culture note, I wanted you to give a shout out to social media for the treatment center or your anything that you want to share that if people are curious or want to look into it, reach out.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I work for Banyan Treatment Centers. I'm very proud for who I work for. We've got 14 or 15 locations and we keep expanding and helping people all over the nation. And, if anybody ever needs help, as mentioned, there is a way out of this. And you can reach out to me for support, for help, to be a soundboard. You can call me anytime. My number is 561-578-2884. So I'm an open book and I'm open to people being the same exact way back to me. And my life purpose today is to help others. And that helps me.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why, but I guess it's just, I think maybe just to, I guess like the last few times I've been around you just recently, even years ago, there was always like so many people. So like it was like, it's so cool to like zero in on like everything you've accomplished.
Likewise.
Sorry, what?
Likewise.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so I always end on like pop culture, what have you, interesting outer space notes, but wanted to know growing up, who did you love? Who did you have posters on your wall of?
So Blink 182 is basically my life, and I'm going by myself this Tuesday, July 11th, to see them reunited with Tom DeLonge. So I literally can't wait. Eclectic taste altogether, from Modest Mouse to Coldplay. I'm not ashamed to say it. I loved all that pop punk, emo girl at heart, also a hippie at heart. I'm a big Dave Matthews fan. Love Fish. I've seen Dave Matthews more times than I can count. And that's like a tradition for me. And it brings me back now as a sober woman who's able to enjoy it in a different light completely, because there were so many years I was going to that concert just to get messed up. But anyway, I don't need to keep going into that. I'm sorry. It just like is so much of my life. But yeah, so that's it. Music was my life, and I love it, and lately I've been listening to a lot of Lil Wayne.
Yes.
I love Lil Wayne. Big Lil Wayne fan. And I'm a big Taylor Swift fan.
I learned that. I would like since from the get-go or in recent years or
I'd say over the last 3 to 4 years, I've become a Swiftie. What about you?
I love that. I really, and it's so interesting because like I loved everybody. I loved everyone. I mean, I was really hardcore and still am obsessed with Elvis. I know. Like,
My dad was.
really, I love
Yes.
that. Like, I just always felt like maybe I was like from another generation.
I love that.
Loved Elvis, still loved Elvis, and then definitely went through loved Michael Jackson.
Ugh.
I know. Until like I said, and that's the only one, like until recent years when I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You also love Madonna.
Love Madonna. Love Madonna, which is so ironic because when I was last with Robyn, I was like, dude, she's like one of the last like living icons. And then literally within a couple of days, we get a news report that like had a huge health scare.
Yeah, I know. Super scary.
Um, I mean, you name it. Loved Prince.
I'm a big fan as well. David Bowie, Prince. Yep.
Which is crazy because both David Bowie and Prince passed away within the same year.
Yeah. Yep.
Love Britney Spears. Still trying to make sure she's okay because I don't know if she is, but
Shout out Britney. If you need help, call me. Seriously.
Holler.
Girl. I mean, yeah, I love her dancing videos. I wish I could dance like she can dance, but if she ever feels the need to ever get her life go down a different path, I hope she does that for herself. You know what I mean? I would hope that for anybody. But yeah, she's a legend.
Legend. Okay, so between Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, do you? No, just no.
No, Backstreet Boys. NSYNC.
Okay, that's her.
What about you?
I don't, I mean, like well, I don't know. They're two different vibes, but like as like I was currently going through Y2K and stuff, I was definitely Backstreet.
Really?
I was definitely, but now as an adult, like when I'm like working out or on a walk, I'm like, I'm playing NSYNC, so.
Yeah, you're like, bye, bye, bye. I don't want to walk anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, and so last question to circle back around to our generation, which I always tell people millennials are babies born between 1981 and 1996. Any thoughts on being a millennial or anything you've heard or what you feel like that was like? I don't know, just any thoughts? Open dialogue.
I don't know what anything else would be like. So, I love being a millennial. I love the millennials. I love the people that I grew up with. A lot of my friends are very successful. And I read somewhere that said millennials are so lazy, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm not hanging out with those people. I don't know those people. So I'm proud to be a millennial. Why not? What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an interesting perspective that no one's ever said is like, this is all I know.
Yeah.
This is all I know. But I think I always say that it's super cool, I think, to know life and interaction and socializing before like the inception of like the internet on the phone, That was a game changer.
Yeah, thinking about that, life would be 100% different for me. I don't know what I would do, which is so sad. I'm working.
No, I mean, we're all, I mean, obviously we're all like accustomed to it, addicted to it. That's our way of life. It's just like I enjoyed the days where like I had to be home to take a phone call. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. And mom or dad would answer the phone. Rob, Ryan's calling. And I'm like, yes, I love him.
Oh,
And then they would eavesdrop. They would eavesdrop on the call and mute it. Psychos.
Same.
Actually, I would probably do that to my kid now.
Okay, so my timer says I've got like 2.5 minutes. So speaking of phone calls, were you like a prank phone caller?
Oh my God, yeah. All the time. That's so funny. And then people would prank call me all the time. That's what we did. That's a very millennial thing.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Hysterical.
Until they got caller ID and one guy called my family back.
Oof. I feel like that happened to all of us. Yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, maybe I should like chill out, take it down a notch, you know?
Yeah. Now we're dealing with all these stupid spam calls.
Or someone was talking to me the other day. Are you starting to get like text messages that are just like, oh, hey, or like a question like misleading? Like, are you getting
Yes. Like, hey, John, this is Lauren.
and
Let's meet up at the park. I'm like, this is Robyn. They're like, okay, well, how's your day?
see, that's yep, it's happening. It's happening around these parts too, which I'm like, because at first I used to do that, and now I'm just like, I just don't respond because that's what they want to like engage in like a conversation or something.
Yes. And I was so excited about it at first because I was like, ooh, friends, people want to actually talk to me. And now I'm just like, don't lead me on like this.
Right. Well, me being such a conspiracy theory, I'm like, are these the Russians? Like, what is this?
Now
But
you're me a little freaked out.
I know. What could just be like someone from Chicago just dicking around, you know?
Chi-town. Shout out.
All right, boo. Like I said, there's less than a minute. Any final words or no pressure, but any shout out to social media or just, I know you gave your phone number and place of
Yeah, I gave my phone number. You know, I love social media. I do, and it's a problem. But, you know, if you ever want to reach out, just call me. You know, my social media is more personal than work related, so we'll leave it at that. But this has been an honor. Thank you for asking me to be on your show.
This
You're
was
so sweet.
amazing. This was
I'm just,
amazing.
you literally are living what I wanted to do for my life, but just I can't communicate like you can. So you have a gift, and I hope you know that.
Thank you so much, ditto. Like I said, amazing. So much love your way.
So much love your way, Katie.
I'll be in touch. Okay. What up?